Life has a way of revealing people's true colors, especially when money is involved. This is the story of Olivia, a talented interior designer who thought she had a close-knit family, only to discover how greed and betrayal could tear it apart. Growing up, Olivia faced her fair share of challenges, especially after losing her mother at a young age. When her father remarried, Olivia tried her best to welcome Karen, her new stepmother, and Melissa, her stepsister, into their lives. But things were never as harmonious as Olivia had hoped. Beneath Melissa's polished exterior lay jealousy and an insatiable desire for control. When their father's health began to decline, Melissa saw her chance to secure the family fortune, crafting an elaborate plan to push Olivia out of the picture entirely. What followed was a journey of heartbreak, resilience, and justice, as Olivia fought to clear her name and rebuild her life. This story isn't just about greed or betrayal. It's about the power of truth and integrity in the face of overwhelming odds. Olivia was just 10 years old when her mother passed away unexpectedly from a heart attack. The loss left her and her father, Richard, a successful entrepreneur in the real estate industry, devastated. For years, it was just the two of them, navigating life together while cherishing the memory of Olivia's late mother. But everything changed when Richard met Karen, a charming woman who seemed to bring light back into his life. Karen had a teenage daughter, Melissa, who was 2 years older than Olivia. When Richard remarried, Olivia was determined to make the blended family work. She welcomed Karen and Melissa into their home, doing her best to share her life and make them feel included. However, Melissa never shared Olivia's enthusiasm. From the beginning, Melissa saw Olivia as competition. While she was sweet and kind in front of their parents, Melissa's true colors showed in private. "This is my house now," she would whisper coldly when no one else was around. "Dad's gonna care more about me than you soon enough." Olivia was hurt, but kept trying, hoping things would improve with time. Karen, ever the doting mother, always brushed off Melissa's behavior. "Girls will be girls," she'd say dismissively. "Melissa just needs time to adjust." Richard, eager to keep the peace, often encouraged Olivia to try harder to get along with her stepsister. As the years went by, Olivia focused on her studies, eventually excelling in interior design and starting her own successful business. Her father was incredibly proud of her achievements, often boasting to friends about Olivia's talent and determination. Meanwhile, Melissa flitted between jobs and relationships, rarely sticking with anything for long. She relied heavily on Richard for financial support, always presenting her latest venture or personal crisis as an emergency that only his money could solve. The family's dynamic grew more strained when Richard's health began to decline. Diagnosed with a rare neurological condition, he became increasingly dependent on Olivia's care. Melissa, however, suddenly began spending more time at his side, feigning concern while secretly scheming to take control of his estate. Unbeknownst to Olivia, Melissa and Karen were already setting the stage for a betrayal that would turn her world upside down. If people don't know how their feelings and behaviors make you feel, Olivia's days were consumed with caring for her father, Richard, as his health deteriorated. She worked remotely, balancing her design projects while ensuring he had everything he needed. But amidst her dedication, Olivia began noticing Melissa's growing presence. Her stepsister, who had never shown much interest in family matters before, now spent hours with Richard in private conversations. Whenever Olivia tried to join them, Melissa would brush her off, claiming, "We're discussing personal matters. You wouldn't understand." Karen supported this sudden change. "Melissa is finally bonding with your father," she'd say with a satisfied smile. But Olivia couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. One evening, after a particularly exhausting day at the hospital, Olivia returned home to find her laptop missing. She searched every corner of her room, but it was gone. When she asked Melissa about it, her stepsister simply shrugged. "I haven't seen it," she said dismissively, a faint smirk playing on her lips. 2 days later, everything unraveled. Richard summoned Olivia to his hospital room, his face pale and drawn. Karen stood beside him, arms crossed, while Melissa sat by his side, holding his hand and crying dramatically. "Olivia," Richard began weakly, his voice tinged with disappointment. "Melissa has shown me something I never thought possible." Melissa handed him Olivia's missing laptop, now open to a series of damning bank statements. The documents showed massive transfers from Richard's accounts to an offshore account in Olivia's name. "That's not mine," Olivia protested, her voice trembling. "Those are fake." Melissa's tears flowed harder. "I couldn't believe it either, Dad," she said, her voice breaking. "But I had to tell you. I borrowed her laptop and found these. I thought you deserved to know the truth." Karen stepped forward, her face twisted with indignation. "How dare you accuse Melissa of lying after what she's uncovered? You've stolen from your own father. We raised you better than this, Olivia." Richard looked devastated, his trust in Olivia crumbling under the weight of Melissa's fabricated evidence. "I've already spoken to my lawyer," he said quietly. "I'm changing my will. I can't trust you with my estate after this." Olivia's world shattered. No matter how hard she tried to explain, the narrative Melissa and Karen had constructed was too convincing. Every protest she made seemed only to solidify their version of events. Karen pointed toward the door. "Get out," she snapped. "You're not welcome here anymore, you ungrateful thief." Olivia's heart broke as she looked at her father one last time, hoping for a glimmer of doubt in his eyes, but he turned his face away. In the hallway, Melissa followed her, her tearful facade replaced by a triumphant smirk. "Did you really think Dad would choose you over me?" she whispered coldly. "I've been planning this for months, every detail, every document. Perfect, wasn't it? Now, everything that should have been yours is mine." As Olivia left with nothing but her car keys and her purse, she vowed silently, this wasn't over. Melissa may have won this round, but Olivia wasn't going down without a fight. In the days following her expulsion from her father's life, Olivia found herself grappling with shock and despair. She checked into a small hotel, her mind racing as she replayed the events that had unfolded. The betrayal felt like a knife to her heart, and the realization that Melissa and Karen had orchestrated everything left her reeling. That night, as Olivia lay staring at the ceiling, she remembered something her father had once told her. "Always keep proof of your integrity. Sometimes the truth takes time to surface, but it always does." His words ignited a flicker of hope. She recalled the safety deposit box he had shown her years ago at the bank, a place where he stored important documents. Melissa and Karen didn't know it existed, and that meant there was still a chance to uncover the truth. The next morning, Olivia visited the bank and met with Mr. Harris, the bank manager who had known her father for over 20 years. She explained the situation and her suspicion that the box might hold evidence of Melissa's scheme. Mr. Harris agreed to help and confirmed that Olivia was still an authorized holder of the box. As fate would have it, just as Olivia was leaving, Melissa and Karen arrived at the bank. Olivia quickly stepped out of sight, but she overheard their conversation. They had discovered the existence of the safety deposit box and were there to access it. Inside the bank manager's office, Olivia and Mr. Harris watched on a security camera feed as Melissa and Karen entered the vault area. Melissa's excitement was palpable as she opened the box, clearly expecting to find hidden assets or extra money. Instead, the box contained a single USB drive and a sealed envelope in Richard's handwriting. The envelope bore the words, "To be opened only in the presence of Olivia." "What is this?" Karen snapped, her face reddening. "Where's the rest of it?" Melissa tore at the envelope, but before she could open it, Mr. Harris intervened. "I must ask you to stop," he said firmly. "The instructions are clear. This letter requires Miss Olivia's presence." Melissa's frustration boiled over. "I'm the sole heir now. Everything belongs to me." "That's not entirely accurate," Mr. Harris replied calmly. At that moment, Olivia stepped into the room. The color drained from Melissa's face, and Karen looked furious. "Surprised to see me?" Olivia said, her voice steady despite the storm brewing inside her. "You have no right to be here," Karen spat. "Actually," Mr. Harris interjected, "Miss Olivia is still a registered co-holder of this box." Ignoring their protests, Olivia opened the envelope and began to read aloud. The letter was from Richard. He revealed that he had discovered Melissa's plan weeks before his death, overhearing her on the phone discussing the fake bank statements. Instead of confronting her immediately, he decided to play along to expose her fully. Richard detailed how he recorded security footage from his home office, showing Melissa breaking in late at night to fabricate the documents. The USB drive in the box contained these recordings, along with incriminating phone conversations Melissa had with a hacker she hired. "I am deeply sorry for doubting you, Olivia," the letter concluded. "The real will, leaving everything to you, is with my lawyer, Mr. Daniels. The will Melissa thinks she has is a fake. Always remember, truth prevails." Melissa's triumphant facade crumbled. "This is a trick," she hissed, lunging for Olivia. Mr. Harris stepped in. "You're on camera, Miss Melissa. Any aggressive action will be reported to the authorities." Olivia held her ground. "You really thought you could get away with it, didn't you? But Dad was always one step ahead." Moments later, 2 police officers arrived, having been alerted by Mr. Harris. Melissa and Karen were arrested on charges of fraud and forgery. Melissa, who had started the paper, and Karen, who had written about it. As they were led away in handcuffs, Melissa turned to Olivia, her face twisted with rage. "I hate you," she spat. Olivia simply watched her go, feeling not triumph, but a deep sense of sadness for what their family had become. Justice had been served, but the scars of betrayal ran deep. The weeks following Melissa and Karen's arrest were a whirlwind of legal proceedings and revelations. As the investigation unfolded, the full extent of their deception came to light. Melissa hadn't just forged documents. She had been systematically siphoning money from Richard's accounts for months, funneling it into a secret fund for herself. Karen, far from an innocent bystander, had actively helped coordinate the scheme, even advising Melissa on how to avoid detection. Olivia sat quietly in the courtroom as the evidence was presented. There were security footage recordings of Melissa in Richard's home office, phone transcripts of her conversations with a hired hacker, and bank records showing the stolen funds. The hacker, having struck a plea deal, testified against Melissa, further sealing her fate. When it was Melissa's turn to testify, her mask of composure shattered. She broke down on the stand, screaming, "It's not fair. Olivia always had everything. Dad's love, his pride, his attention. I deserved that money, not her." The judge was unmoved. "Miss Melissa Harris, your actions reveal a deliberate and calculated effort to destroy your stepsister's life for personal gain. This court sentences you to 8 years in prison for fraud, theft, and conspiracy." Karen fared no better. Her role as an accomplice earned her 5 years behind bars. Her carefully curated image as a caring stepmother crumbled under the weight of the evidence. As they were led away in handcuffs, Melissa turned to Olivia one last time. "You ruined my life," she spat. Olivia didn't respond. She simply watched them go, feeling a mix of relief and sorrow. Justice had been served, but the family she once hoped to have was gone forever. In the months following the trial, Olivia worked to rebuild her life. She moved back into her childhood home, which had been left untouched since Melissa and Karen's arrest. The house carried both painful memories and cherished ones, but Olivia was determined to honor her father's legacy by making it a place of healing and growth. Her first step was revitalizing the family business, which had been neglected during her father's illness. Under Olivia's leadership, it flourished, becoming a testament to the values her father had instilled in her: hard work, honesty, and resilience. But Olivia knew that rebuilding her life wasn't just about financial success. She wanted to give back, so she established a scholarship fund in her father's name, helping students who had lost parents to illness. Each scholarship awarded felt like a small way to turn her pain into purpose, creating something meaningful out of the hardships she'd endured. Through therapy and self-reflection, Olivia slowly began to heal from the betrayal that had cut so deeply. She built a new family of close friends and colleagues who supported and loved her for who she was. While she couldn't forgive Melissa and Karen for their actions, she chose not to let their betrayal define her future. Her father's words stayed with her. "True wealth isn't in money, but in the integrity with which we live our lives." Olivia found peace in knowing she had upheld those principles, even when it seemed the world was against her. 5 years later, as she sat in her father's old study, watching the sunset through the window he loved, Olivia felt a deep sense of gratitude. She had turned her pain into purpose, proving that truth, patience, and integrity would always prevail.